If you've been following the news about federal immigration enforcement in Minneapolis, you've probably seen a lot of conflicting headlines. There's a ton of noise, a lot of fear. But what's really going on beneath the surface? Is there a clear plan, or is it just chaos? Well, let's cut through all that and break down what's actually happening on the ground.
So that's the big question, right? Is the situation we're seeing in Minneapolis just total chaos like some reports would have you believe? Or is there a deliberate, highly strategic operation at play? When we strip away all the politics and just look at the facts, a very different picture starts to emerge.
All right, let's get right into it. The single biggest misconception is that this is all random. It's not. The actual directive coming from the very top is focused on two clear goals. And yeah, they definitely seem to contradict each other. Safety and enforcement. So how in the world do they balance those two things?
The number one order given to the federal leadership on the ground was incredibly clear. Before anything else, the priority was to de-escalate. The explicit command was to stabilize the whole situation and make sure, above all else, that everybody was safe.
But, and this is a huge but, this focus on safety absolutely does not mean enforcement just stops. This is the whole balancing act of the policy. Safety is paramount, for sure, but the law is not being ignored. The directive is unmistakable. If you are in the country illegally, you are subject to removal. There are no quote-unquote safe zones.
So the approach is strategic, we've established that. But the scale of the enforcement side of things, it is massive. Let's dig into the hard data here for a second, because that's the only way to really grasp the significance of this operation. Get ready for this. In just over 1 year, federal agencies have carried out more than 700,000 deportations. Just let that number sink in. By any measure, that is a truly historic, record-shattering number.
And to put that 700,000 number in perspective, officials have pointed out that you have to go all the way back to the Eisenhower administration to find removal numbers this high. So we're not talking about a small uptick here. This is a major, historical level of enforcement. Now here's an interesting twist. The same leadership carrying out these orders was highly decorated back in 2015 by the Obama administration. So what gives? The key difference isn't so much the policy itself, but the sheer intensity of how it's being enforced. The message being sent out is simple and direct. There are consequences.
But that intensity, well, it comes at a very serious cost. The political climate right now has created a huge problem. We're seeing a dramatic and very dangerous increase in the level of risk for the agents who are actually on the ground.
To put it bluntly, the job of enforcing these immigration laws is now more dangerous than at any other point in recent memory. And this wasn't unexpected. Federal officials had been warning for months that all the heated political rhetoric would eventually have very real, very violent consequences.
And tragically, those predictions were spot on. The numbers are just staggering. Threats against federal officials have skyrocketed by nearly 8,000%.
And we're not just talking about threats. Actual physical assaults on agents are up by over 1,000%. So yeah, those warnings that inflammatory language would lead to violence, the data is pretty much screaming that it's already here.
This increased danger is exactly what brings us back to Minneapolis. It's the whole reason for this crucial tactical shift that's now unfolding, a shift that many see as a potential solution.
Now, to really understand this shift, you have to know about one key legal tool. It's called a detainer. It's basically a formal request. A federal agency asks a local jail, hey, can you please hold this person for us for a little while? We're on our way to pick them up and transfer them into federal custody.
And right here, this is the breakthrough. After a series of high-level meetings between federal leadership and local officials, we're talking the governor, the mayor, everybody at the table, they worked out a compromise. State prisons in the area will now honor these federal detainers.
So why is that such a big deal? Well, think about it like this. A normal street arrest might require a team of 15 or 16 agents entering a community. It's high risk, it creates a ton of tension. But a jail transfer? That takes just one agent inside a controlled environment. It's quiet, it's efficient, and it is infinitely safer for the officers and the community.
So this is the crucial takeaway for the community. This new cooperation has a direct impact on what people see and experience every day. The more these safe jail transfers can happen, the less need there is for that heavy federal presence out in the neighborhoods. It's a direct trade-off.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. What is the bottom line here? And what does this all mean for the path forward, not just in Minneapolis, but maybe everywhere?
First off, federal leadership has been crystal clear. The operation isn't stopping. They're not leaving until the job is done. But the method of doing that job has adapted. The goal now is to maximize these safer jail transfers. The hope is that this cooperation keeps the streets calmer while still letting agents focus on their #1 mission, removing public safety threats.
And all of this leaves us with a final really vital question. In this climate of such intense political division, can this kind of quiet, strategic cooperation actually be a sustainable model for the future? Or is this just a temporary truce in a much larger conflict? That's definitely something to think about.